Hi guys, it's Lizzie. So I got a request the other day if I could do a tutorial on realistic eyes. So that's what this video is about today. And I figured that I just do it, just to show you guys my process and stuff, and hopefully maybe help someone. So to start off with materials, I use a Prismacolor Scholar 6B, a 4H for sketching. Make sure you sharpen your pencils first. A 5B, a B, and a 3B, and these are just my materials. I also use a cotton swab, a tissue, a kneaded eraser, and just a regular plastic eraser. So starting off with the sketch, I usually just draw a circle, then I draw 2 circles in between that circle, like one big circle and one little circle, and just don't aim for perfection, just because you're going to be erasing a lot. I use my 4H for this level, so try and go light. Then I draw a circle in between, and then I draw the little light reflection, and I also draw the pupil. Then I use my 6B to add the darker areas, then I draw the little veins in the eyes. Then I use my 5B to make the midtones, and my 4B to make the somewhat light tones, and then my 3B to make the really light tones. I usually try and practice my shading with the ball thing to, practice where the light and the dark is, and I make a shading values range thingy. Sometimes I blend out with my paintbrush, but today I'm blending with my tissue. I like to use lighter pencils when it comes to the inside of the eye. So usually I use an HB, a B, and an H, and I'll just, I'll put the HB and the H first. I'll put them really light, and then afterwards I put in the little cornea thing, and then I just blend it, and then I just build up the layers, and I do the same thing. So then I do the upper eyelid once I blend everything out, and I just do the same thing. First I do the dark tones, then I do the light tones and the mid tones, and then I fill everything in in betweening. And then I do the same thing with the bottom, and I just build up the layers. Make sure you're patient when you're building up those layers, because when you aren't and you rush it, then the drawing will probably look rushed. It won't look as appealing. So there's not much to say about eyelashes. Just make sure you curve them when you're on the eye. Just make sure and usually I use my 5B for the more faded part, and then the 6B for the darker, more prominent part of the eyelashes. So at last, we're kind of at the end. I usually make the highlights more prominent and the darker zones a bit darker, and I just leave it like that. And yeah, that's basically how I draw my eyes. So before I end today's video, I wanted to do a couple tips. So one of the tips that I have is don't rush into trying to find a style. Try and implement art tips to make your art more appealing first, and then you can try and find your own style to see where you fit in the art world. Next is practice. I feel like everyone and their mother and their grandmother says this, but just make sure you practice every day, even if it's just a quick study. Just make sure you practice. Going back to the first one, another tip that I have is trying out new things, new techniques, and just don't try and go off this one tutorial alone unless you really like it. Try and look for other tutorials and see which one you resonate with best. Even try out new medias, mix your medias a little bit, mix your mediums. You can blend gouache or watercolor or anything. Just try it out, especially if you're in an art block or you're stuck in a rut. Just try and find something new or study something new, because and that can help you even find your art style maybe and your preferred medium. Next is using references. Just don't be afraid to use references because starting out, most people use references and most people still use references. So just make sure to, when you're starting out, to use references if you want to. And last but not least, probably the most cliche one of all, but just have fun with your artwork. Don't be too hard on yourself if you mess one thing up. I know a lot of times that I am really hard on myself because I mess something up, but it's okay. Just focus on improving, and don't try your best not to compare yourself to other artists. Just make sure that you're working on improving your own art, and then one day you'll get to a level that's really high. Well, I hope you guys really like this tutorial, and if you like this tutorial, then subscribe to the channel.